Tune in to Heel of the Ring podcast on the Sports Jedi Network channel. May the sports be with you. Because I am the hero the Sports Jedi deserves, but not the one it needs right now. Long live Lexus King. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Jedi Network. It's Thursday night. It's our TNA review and our recap. Of course, we're your guys, BX Sport Jedi Kev, PGA Chris. I want to say before I say hello to PGA Chris, we are sponsored by Dude Wipes. Staying fresh, fighting dirt. Dude Wipes and the Sports Jedi Network, wiping out the competition. Chris, what's going on, man? Ready to talk some TNA review?
Yes. Not, it's one of those Thursdays that doesn't feel like a long show. Quick 2 hours flew by. Talk about some stuff we liked.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. We want to say hello to everyone. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Happy Thursday to everyone. And of course, get your super chats in there. Let's get ready to go. Opening contest here. We know that everything is laid on the table, especially coming off of the NXT WWE Heatwave, where we know we have a new TNA Knockout champion. But the show opens up with your current TNA Men's Champion teaming up with AJ Francis against Mike Santana and your TNA International Champion, Steve Maclin. The match goes on. This is a great start because you see Steve Maclin in the ring, starting off there, back and forth with Trick Williams, start off the match. Wanted to see how that chemistry between Maclin and Trick Williams. Get some hot tag. Then Mike Santana did the workload in the match to the hot tag. All in all, to get AJ Francis in the ring, a great spot there where Santana wins on a roll-up and pins your TNA World Champion on a victory. Your thoughts on the match and then correct outcome?
Yes, correct outcome. You got to build up Mike Santana for Bound for Glory. And I thought the match was really well. It was good to see Steve Maclin and Mike Santana work together. I would love to see them go at it, but it was good to see them work together. It was good that we didn't see much of Trick and Santana in the ring together other than that finish. So I thought the way they did the match was good. AJ Francis took most of the reps, which is really what he's good at. So it was a really, really good opener.
Yeah, very good way to start the show. Because again, you're showcasing some four gentlemen where if you're telling me for Bound for Glory, like you said, are we back on track for Mike Santana to chase that TNA World title? I have a theory, I have a thought that I'm going to throw in at the end of the show there. What I saw tonight, maybe, don't, but if you're telling me that that's your main event and then you have AJ Francis, the number one contender for Steve Maclin's international title, I would not be one bit
I agree.
Disappointed to see AJ in that title.
No, absolutely not. He was really good as digital media champ. So
Right, and Heather says the first half of the show was pretty slow, except for the Trick and Santana tag match. That match was good, and I thought Trick kind of slowed down the pace a little, working with a different style with a different wrestler, a more experienced. They didn't have to do, the fast pace what he's used to, like a Javon Evans or like I was saying, a Wes Lee. That NXT style, it tends to be a little quick. Now Trick is getting a little versatile, working with a Steve Maclin, slowing things down with proven veterans. Wouldn't mind seeing a Trick Williams and an Eric Young match, just for him to have that dynamic with that veteran, that grizzly veteran in the ring, to give him something different. I wouldn't mind that scene in the future there. But we'll find out if we are on the right track for Bound for Glory. We have a backstage segment with GM Miller talking to Leon, and Cedric. There doesn't sit well going against the Hardy, so they keep teasing that in this main event where Leon, is he going to do the right thing for his partner Cedric's part and try to get those? Now I was confused. Backstage interview, we hear Leon being referenced as possible double champion, being if Cedric, they were to win, they captured the title. But then later in the program, they say it was a non-title match. So I had a little bit of a disconnect. I was like, wait a minute, I meant you're saying that on the watch on there. Any other thoughts? I'm just waiting for that main event to see if he's really to pull that trigger when it comes to that. And then you get a matchup here. Eric Young taking on the one third of the Rascals, Marlon Reed. Back and forth match. Again, when you have a veteran like an Eric Young taking on the young guy like a Reed, I thought the dynamic worked well. I thought, the Eric Young, the in-ring veteran, calling the match, working with them, that different heel style. Of course, you have some of his Northern Armory out there with a cleanse is coming to TNA, where Eric Young is trying to cleanse it out of maybe the TNA, the NXT wrestlers or the invaders or the outsiders, and just wants a pure TNA locker room. All in all, there was a moment of a distraction where Marlon Reed gets just a moment distracted where he gets hit in the nads, right in the region and growing area by Eric Young into a power driver into the victory. Well, here's one thing I like about it. It kept Marlon Reed safe by taking that pin because he got hit behind without the referee seeing the mitts and the groins, and he got hit with a vicious power driver. So your thoughts on that one with the veteran versus the young kid?
I thought it was a great match. I think Eric Young, I think it was the right outcome for that. I think this could lead into storyline, possibly with if or whatever Trey Miguel has going on with him coming back. I think this could lead to, potential storylines of him actually telling the truth. They want Trey, you're kind of the afterthought when he comes back. I think that a little bit of that will come to reality. So I think it's good that they're kind of foreshadowing that and they could go somewhere with that.
I love that.
So I think hopefully that's what's happening next.
If long-term storytelling, because we've been seeing last week, we saw a promo where Eric Young, that's where I led this match, when Eric Young
Yes.
will put that seed in his head, said, once Miguel comes back, you're a third wheel, you're an afterthought. They're going to push you to the side because the Rascals is usually those two, is Miguel and Zachary Wentz. They're going, and you're just here as a filler, a substitute. How is that going to sit? They had an opportunity where they could have told a nice story, but again, who knew that, who the little girl was? But they could have planted a young lady where she thought it was like, I want Trey Miguel, and putting that in Marlon Reed's head. Like, if they're really going to go that route, like, damn, even the fans, want. But then you're afraid that the fans will turn on Marlon Reed and no one cares about him. But we'll see how that goes going forward there. Danny Nuna cuts a promo in the back, justifying her actions. She's just comes out and she's going to take care of her first, and she's gonna get out of being in limbo. So now she's going for hers. No more thinking about it, her partner, her team, or being the Mrs. Nice Girl. She's just going out. She's out of limbo. She's going to be defined and conquer for Danny Nuna. I liked a little bit of an attitude there. Again, especially we need some more heelish knockouts. They have a lot of uber baby face. We were talking about that when it comes to the knockouts division singles. I know that they broke up Spitfire, but now Spitfire is in this triangle where I'm going to say they leads on later on where Indy Hartwell is supposed to take on Danny Nuna, and actually it was Jody Threat, and they added Danny Nuna because she bitched and complained into it, and Indy said, you know what, I'm going to add her on, Santino. No more than merry. I'll beat them. Now we have a triple threat coming out next Thursday, which is going to be live from Minnesota. So that's a good one because that's testing the waters again for when they have their TV deal when they go live, and see how many people are going to tune in and watch TNA on a Thursday live. And especially, it's a tough one because Sunday Night Football's back. That's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Thursday Night Football. That's good. Yeah. So we'll see.
We get a promo where Ava, of course, letting us know about the Speed Championship in NXT. The opportunity arises where they're going to have tournament. They're going to have representation from TNA. Candice LeRae will be taking on Zaya Brookside. Will be taking on next week, representing TNA. Good luck to Zaya. I of course, it's a tournament for the number one contender to take on Soruka on the No Mercy Premium Live event coming up at the end of the month. So hopefully Zaya Brookside does a good job there where she moves on and possibly to the finals. And I wouldn't mind seeing Zaya Brookside Soruka on one-on-one matchup, but we'll see how that goes. Goes there. We get another one promo where we're going to see your new TNA Knockouts champion, bringing some elegance. Ash by Elegance, talking about her victory, how she saved TNA, went to the hostile NXT land and brought back the title, became the savior. And the only way to celebrate a savior is with an elegant party. So we're gonna get, and we're ushering in the era of elegance in the Knockouts division for TNA, and that's going to take place next Thursday in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I like the fact that she's getting her flowers. Do you think was a little bit narcissistic from Ash?
I mean, that's kind of her thing, right? That's kind of who she is, so it makes sense. I think the personal concierge is going to do a lot of the talking next week. Um, so especially in the beginning, so it's going to be a fun segment. Again, I expected to hold that title till Bound for Glory. We were both curious to see how this was recorded. I think they just did it after Heatwave and edited it on here, which was good. Which was good because it still keeps things a little fresh despite things being taped. Um, we know what's happening, but they still think of that. I think they're thinking of that, right? We have a tape show. Let's try to get this added on there so it looks like they're keeping up. So I can give TNA props for adding that on the show.
I'll give it plenty of credit on TNA because they added it on, and they kept they we didn't have to wait a whole entire week, or seeing it on her cutting a promo on WWE TV. It was done on TNA
Yes.
platform tonight, which that's something that you want when you bring in your title back. This is where a little bit of a disadvantage because you would have loved the first time you see that title is her coming out to the crowd.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But it is what it is. We can't wait for next week to see how that goes. That homecoming here. We're supposed to get Mara Sadè versus Tasha Steelz, but we get interrupted. We get interrupted by TNA's most over. When I mean over, act young man. It's Nick Nemath's little brother, Ryan Nemeth, comes out. Ryan Nemeth cuts a promo. He lets us know about his big brother. Ryan Nemeth will be back in action next week. This guy is so over week after week. You hear the crowd again. Where's your brother? And it leads to an interruption though. This one I want to ask you. Did you expect him to get interrupted and then lead into a match with Eddie Edwards of all people?
I did not expect that. Well, yes and no. No, because usually Ryan Nemeth has just been going out there and saying his big brother's coming back, which again is my favorite part of the entire show. But they already advertised the card for next week, and I already know that Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards are taking on the Nemeths, so this made perfect sense.
So
You
you
build
saw
up that
you
heat
saw
with
the
Eddie
card.
Edwards winning, and then the Nemeths get the win next week. Yeah.
Okay, you saw the card and you're sad and you say great job on building it to give you that
Yes.
card. Okay.
Yes, because you can give Ryan Nemeth the loss tonight and then have the Nemeths go over because the Nemeths' overall goal, I think, is to recapture those TNA titles. So that gives
It
them
might be
momentum.
there. I'm there for it. If the Nemets have a chance to because the Hardys, the work rate,
Well, Nick
they're
told us too when we talked to him. He wants another title run with his brother. So like that,
oh
not
absolutely.
non kayfabe like type of stuff. So they're gonna get another opportunity after Bound for Glory. So this is just a way to build them up.
Yeah, or maybe for Victory Road because they
Or
because
Victory
I
Road as well.
Nick wants to invoke that rematch clause because
Yes,
we did
yes.
mention
He
that
could,
when
and
we
he could,
interviewed him.
and he could do that next week. So
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. We will be
yeah,
back in action in
yeah, good
Minnesota,
thought.
so it'll be good to see the Nemeth brothers together. And Ryan always the more TV. I love that he's utilizing the TV time. They send him out there, even if it's for a second or two. Wrestling the hometown man, Eddie Edwards, letting us know about his big brother, keeping his brother um in your mindset relevant, but also him being over on making those announcements. So Ryan Nemeth here in 2025 is uber entertaining, uber fun, and he is over and we want to see more. And I know he's making the best of what they give him. And I got to give him a lot of kudos and props for Ryan Nemeth. Continue to do your thing. Again, phenomenal work. We can't stop giving him his flowers each and every time we see him on the screen. There, one thing that a guy that's out there doing a lot of havoc, and we see him again. This was a lot of Eric Young tonight. Eric Young backstage talking about again. There's a cleanse coming to TNA, and there's a cleanse, and on the floor, wrapped in the cables and the wires, was Joe Henry. But I want to say this: this was a little bit of a disconnect for me. You just finished coming off the break and letting us know that Joe Henry's overseas with the WWE in the European tour, wrestling in different parts of the Europe circuit. But then you see this promo with Eric Young, and Joe Henry's laying on the floor wrapped up in the cables. Which one is it? Is he overseas with the WWE working, or is he on the floor getting beat up by Eric Young, or possibly getting an enema for a cleanse.
I see where you have that disconnect. I agree. Um, maybe this is. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. Joe Hendry, I think this is sort of his end. I think this is the end of his hype in TNA before he goes to WWE.
You're probably right.
And no
You're
disrespect to Eric Young. No disrespect to Eric Young, but this is gonna get Eric Young more over than Joe Hendry.
No, the promo was great. I'm not saying the promo was terrible. I think their placement of letting us know that Joe Henry was overseas with the WWE, it should
Right.
happen on a different break. Maybe after you see him on the floor with the cable around his neck, then show us. Then he was, or beginning of the show. Joe Henry was in overseas with WWE, this and that, or whatever. Or after, not that, and then show the promo with him on the lane on the floor. It's like, which one is it? You can't have them both. But listen, that's just nitpick. That's just a little bit of a minor nitpick. It still doesn't take away that. It doesn't say, oh my God, the show sucked. It was just a little bit of a disconnect. If you really, criticism, maybe the placement of that, of letting us know he's overseas, and then him laying on the floor with a cable, supposedly by Eric Young taking him out. It's like, all right, so he really wasn't really taken out. Maybe that's Eric Young's mind. I don't know. They didn't give us that attention to that. They didn't give us the specifics of the details of that backstage. But we had a match after that. Order 4, Tasha Steelz taking on Mae Sebera, formerly known as Jakara Jackson. Both ladies work well. Tasha Steelz is always that veteran wrestler in ring, taking on this almost the same size of maybe Sadè, a little taller, but back and forth they went, where Sadè had a move that she would actually go for a finisher, just didn't like it, kind of slippage. I don't know if it was the humidity or what. It wasn't so crisp. Tasha though kept working at it. You saw the order for interfering back and forth, where Agent Zero appears, and she's not scared of him. We're not scared of you, not scared of you. She gets back in the ring, gets hit with a cutter for the 1, 2, 3. But here's the thing that got me with my oohs and ahs: the aftermath. The order for it comes in for the gang to attack, but they fed her to Agent Zero, and TNA is not afraid of putting physical to the men and women to gender, because at Agent Zero gave her a freaking clothesline from hell. Holy moly.
That was a good clothesline. She took it like a champ. But I'll talk a little bit. The match was good. Like you said, veteran. Nothing much to add. It was okay. But yeah, her taking that Agent Zero clothesline was really cool, and
Yeah.
it's gonna build Jakar Jackson up too. Tasha Steelz, because she's doing her thing as a valet sorta. So she has multiple roles. Jakar Jackson's gonna go through that Indy Hartwell phase for a little bit to get built up, like Indy was, before she started getting #1 contenders matches. So it was good. Nothing much to
Maybe,
add.
and I agree with Heather. I don't know what was that move, but it looked a little awful. If that's a finisher, again, I'm gonna go with it's summer, hot, humidity, sweaty, maybe a little slippage of the sweat, maybe. But if she's having a hard time with that finisher, maybe that's something needs to get scrapped away, and that's up to that's the good thing about the agents, the bookers, the coaches. They'll look at those things, and it's up to them to tighten those screws, and make those tweaks when it comes to Jakara, aka Mae Sebera, going forward. Look, she had a loss. Tasha needed the victory because they're building order for right now. And then after the match, after getting that clothesline, the Hardys come out. Hardys came out for the save. Clean house there, got rid of the good hands. Double clothesline. Agent Zero over the top, landing on his feet. The big man, typical big man over the top ropes. They leave. Then they go into a break. They go right into the main event, where the Hardys taking on Leon Slater and Cedric Alexander. I'm going to tell you this. That match was really good. From all their spots, the Hardys continue to show at the age of almost 50 years old, they still move. Those two boys, men, continue to move and kept up with a Leon Slater and a Cedric. Cedric could go. Cedric no longer much a high flyer like he's. If you heard I mentioned on the watch along, man, an interview on the Sunday edition of Busted Open with I believe Jonathan Hood and someone else. They had that conversation with him. He's no longer that high flyer. He likes that ground and pound, mat technician stuff. That's what he is. He likes that. He's evolved and he enjoys that. And I thought that combination with Leon and Cedric really worked for putting them together for the first time. And the Hardys just kept up with them. all in all, the match was very dynamically done well. Of course, the Hardys get the victory, the Swanton from Jeff onto Cedric. Matt was the legal guy. He gets his brother for the pin. I thought it was great. I thought there was going to be shenanigans or disconnect between Cedric and Leon to open up an opportunity for another title opportunity, part two between those guys. But I still think there's something to be continued there. But at the end, you get the baby faces all acknowledgement, shake hands, rising of the same thing we saw with the Rascals. I liked it, Chris. The sportsmanship. Anything? Your thoughts?
Nothing much to add, man. I mean, the Hardys, we know they continue to show out every week. It was a good match. Leon and Cedric work well together as a tag team. Maybe they're saving the shenanigans for a bigger moment. That's all I could really
Or a
add.
live event?
Yeah, that's all I could really add. Maybe they're saving that for a bigger moment. This was just a really good TV main event match. It could have, it could have been the opener, it could have been the main event. That's why when they said this wasn't the main event, I thought it was a good idea. So yeah, I would just add that maybe they're saving the shenanigans for a live event next week.
Yeah, because we were all surprised, and I know Mather was mentioned in the chat and others, where we saw the opening contest with Trick Williams and AJ Francis taking on Maclin and Santana. It's like, why is this not the main event? Because there's a story there. After that match, Santana totally was just got his hands on Trick and wanted to really mess him up. Where to the point where Trick had to call a lawyer. He had to call his lawyer. He was afraid, and he called a lawyer, and they closed out they close out the segment, or they close out TNA tonight, where Trick Williams calls his lawyer in the middle of the ring, and he has a gentleman who's supposed to be a lawyer, has his back, talking about he doesn't has to, working conditions. He has 50 days to he has a clause that he can't, he don't have to defend until 50 days. Out comes Santino Marella, comes out there where he's about to make an announcement for Bound for Glory, gets interrupted by the attorney. Out comes the Cobra for the attorney, and we didn't get the announcement. We were left off with a cliffhanger for possibly next week, Chris.
That's what a lot of this show was. That's
Okay.
what a lot of this show was. I feel like a cliffhanger for next week again with Leon, like we just talked about it with this main event. How they close the show with Trick and Santino. We're gonna get the announcement. We know what's going on. The commentators kind of spill it out by accident sometimes. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. Again, they're saving this for a live crowd. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And I thought the lawyer, he did his part. Whether
Let
he's
me
a
ask,
trainee with something, he did his part.
let me ask you this: what else next week next week in Indianapolis? Santino is going to make an announcement, and Trick wants to circumvent that it's not happening in Bound for Glory, yada yada. But then he goes, and I wasn't going to make that announcement. I talked to you, Eva, and at Full Sail, Tricky Williams versus Mike Santana in Full Sail, for the TNA title.
No,
No good.
no.
You know the contingency of Puerto Ricans that are there, man.
And at a university,
Yes, you see,
I'd rather have him winning at Bound for Glory in Lowell, Massachusetts, than him winning.
they're gonna have almost the same amount of people.
I don't know. Winning a TNA title on NXT doesn't sit
TV. Okay, that's fine with me. I'm just throwing that out
I
there.
like the idea. I like the match. I like it. It's a good match. If he's finally gonna get, we didn't get it in New York. We didn't get the special moment. I would like him to at least win it in a TNA show.
Okay. I mean, to me, winning it on the front of a WWE audience is bigger than a TNA audience. That's just me. That's why I said maybe on and also on CW Network, where it's going to be all over Channel 11 PIX. He goes out there and wins that title, and then he's going into Bound for Glory as champion, and maybe Trick wants to get a revenge or a title match, and he successfully defends that title at Bound for
Trick's gonna
Glory.
lose 2 times in a row.
Trick is going to lose the first of it in Full Sail, and will lose at Bound for Glory because Santana setting the standard. Winning.
We'll see. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that idea. I'm not. If it happens,
Where
I would, yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. That Ava's because Trick is trying to get over it by saying I 50 days that Bound for Glory. Shoot, I just stand here with champion where the one person that could overturn and make him get in the ring is an Ava because remember he is a WWE contracted wrestler. So if she tells him that he has to wrestle and defend that title on at Full Sail, even though it's and agree with Santino to make Trick Williams life impossible. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think that could happen where they want to humble Trick. Then by humbling him by having him wrestle at Full Sail and losing to Santana there. So I don't know. Yeah, no, Joe Henry's 1 foot out the door. He's wrestling the Miz all over the He don't worry about him being part of this main event for Bound for Glory. It looks like we're gonna get Joe Henry versus Eric Young at Bound for Glory, where Eric Young probably takes him out, and that's off to the WWE you go, Joe Henry. I think that's what happens there. But we'll see. I don't think it's gonna happen that way. I think they're gonna go very safe. Paint by the numbers where Santino next Thursday announced Mike Santana versus Trick Williams at Bound for Glory. And we're off and running with that. But I wouldn't be so. I've just throw a curveball. I just said, let me throw a curveball because you got to put some kind of hype. I know there's going to be a lot of nostalgic black and gold stuff at Full Sail. But if you have that bone that you want to throw TNA is Mike capturing his title on television. We already had Ash take one title back. I mean, I guess they return a favor, or who knows what, or I don't think, or the Hardys. The Hardys, I'm not saying they're gonna lose their title. They'll wrestle next week. They'll wrestle at Full Sail for the tag teams, for their TNA tag team titles. We'll see what happens there. We'll find out. Well, definitely on that. But that is our review. All in all, this show tonight for tape show that happened 2 weeks ago, it went smooth. It went. I can't complain. Even the commercial placement. That's just one thing I want to give a lot of credit to TNA for the production staff. They did go on commercials during the match, but the Steve Maclin match on the first match, the opening contest. But they when they paused their commercial break, they came back exactly at that spot that they paused for the commercial. They did it on all the commercials when they went in between action. I appreciate that. I know it's taped; they could go back to it, but when you do live TV, that's where I have a disconnect, like WWE. When we're watching Monday Night Raw, they go on, they're doing a moonsault, they hit it. What happens next? They're in a commercial break. If you don't have the international feed and you get taken out of the match. At TNA happens to keep me invested to right to where we're left off. I got to give them a lot of props and kudos. And the way they did that vignette for Ash by Elegance, I can't complain. Very well done, Chris.
They do a good job with that every week when it comes to commercial placements. And like I mentioned earlier with Ash adding it in, they make it feel fresh. So well said. Good job with their production team. They do a good job every week with doing that, really.
And they kept their storylines cliffhangers for the next week. And that's what you want. Tell stories with some cliffhangers to make you want to tune in to the product. And that's what you want to do. Tell stories and leave hangers for you to want to tune in for the following week. So with that said, we want to say thank you guys for a quick review here on TNA tonight. It was a good show, very good show, a solid 8 show. There was nothing, it was just a real good 8. Nothing bad, nothing good, great. It was just really good wrestling. It checked all the boxes, and that's what TNA does each and every week, and that's why we're a big fan and we're enamored by it. So we want to say everyone a happy Friday coming up to everyone. It's going to be a feel good Friday tomorrow. So appreciate everyone again. We'll get ready for the weekend. We got a busy weekend coming up. We got SmackDown, of course, then your Labor Day weekend, Labor Day Sunday. We'll be doing the Classic of Paris and all that good stuff. So from me and you to Chris, have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you guys next time here on the Sports Jedi Network. And thank you to our sponsor, Dude Wipes. So we'll talk to you guys on the other side. Buenas noches. Yes, tomorrow SmackDown starts early. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.